And we're going to go straight into the news. And the first piece is a Democratic Party political consultant was arrested in Little Rock, Arkansas. Oh my, you all know who resides close to there. In a federal child pornography charge that the authorities have revealed. And a sealed criminal complaint was filed on Friday against Harold Moody Jr. and unsealed on Tuesday. Moody, the former chairman of the Pulaski County Democratic Party for 2 years and communications director for the Democratic Party of Arkansas from July 2015 through February 17, was caught during a federal investigation into child exploitation. Now, according to an affidavit filed in the Eastern District of Arkansas, Mr. Moody is accused of using a video conference application to view and share videos of adults raping children. We'll hear more on that later. According to Arkansas Online, Moody pleaded innocent on Tuesday in a U.S. District Court in Little Rock and waived his right to a bond hearing. And a spokesman for the U.S. Attorney for the District of Arkansas said Moody will remain in federal custody. And Moody has since left his role as the Democratic State Party spokesman when current chairman Michael John Gray was elected. And this is according to the current communications director for the Democrat Party. Washington, next. Following the state confirmation of William P. Barr to the Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, TikTok, is planning to exit the Department of Justice next Friday, according to 3 DOJ officials who are familiar with the plans and ongoing conversations inside the department. Rosenstein, who this show said in December of 2017 would be one of those that will go, remember, initially planned to stay at the DOJ for several weeks further to ensure a smooth transition to his successor. No, he didn't. He wanted to delay things further. Jeffrey Rosen, who has took over, however, he is quietly working to exit the DOJ next Friday, which is tomorrow, after a scathing interview was given to 60 Minutes by former FBI Director Andrew McCabe. Another one. Mr. McCabe is scheduled to air on Sunday, I think this was last Sunday, and said that Mr. Rosenstein considered invoking the 25th Amendment to oust President Trump in addition to possibly recording the Commander-in-Chief, directly contradicting a forceful denial issued months earlier by Rosenstein. Rosenstein also signed a FISA warrant against former Trump advisor Carter Page, something President Trump has heavily criticised him for. And over a 2-year period, Rosenstein repeatedly refused to comply with requests from House Republicans for documents related to the Page FISA warrant and the Russian investigation in general. A group of scientists around the world have now called for a ban on the development, it's not in development, they're already there, of weapons controlled by artificial intelligence. It says that autonomous weapons may malfunction, they already have, in unpredictable ways and kill innocent people, they already have in many thousands. And ethics experts also argue that it is a moral step too far for AI systems to kill without any human intervention. Now, these comments were made at the American Association for Advancement of Science meeting, which took place in Washington, D.C. last week, and the Human Rights Watch is one of 89 non-governmental organisations from 50 countries that have formed the campaign to stop the killer robots and to press for an international treaty on it. Now, among those leading efforts for the worldwide ban is Mary Wareham. We are not talking about walking, talking Terminator robots that are about to take over the world. What we are concerned about is much more imminent. Conventional weapon systems with autonomy. and they are beginning to creep in. Drones are the obvious example, but there are military aircraft that take off, fly and land on their own. No one to talk then, you see. Robotic sentries that can identify movement, and these are precursors to autonomous weapons. Now, Ryan Gariepy, Chief Technological Officer of ClearPath Robotics, also backs the ban proposal. His company takes military contracts, but it has denounced AI systems for warfare and stated it would not develop them. When they fail in unpredictable ways, he said. The Indonesian president has popped up again. He made many controversial statements last year. President Duterte, and in his latest outburst, he has vowed to, quote, eradicate all traces of Rothschild family financial criminality from the Philippines. Good move. Announcing that he will no longer respond to pressure or financial blackmail from the US government or Rothschilds-controlled global banking institutions. The president, who claims to have killed several cartel bosses with his own hands, is not one to be bullied, as we all know, and he has now set his sights on cleaning up the financial corruption in his country and promising them to drive them out like the scavengers that they are. Now, before Duterte assumed the office of president, the Philippines was suffering from the effects of the IMF, World Bank and UN imposed austerity programs and privatization that exploited its people and also its resources. A common theme, as regular listeners to THI will know. And it's also one of Asia's most corrupt and troubled nations, though the Filipino people, through strong showings of popular resistance over a period of years, were able to curb some of the most rampant crony corruption. Many of the shackles imposed by these Rothschilds-controlled institutions still remained. Now, back in 2016, after warning those involved in the narcotics trade that it's either you kill me or I kill you, this was done by the president, an astonishing 1,007,153 narcotics criminals surrendered to the government, and 73 government officials were arrested for involvement in the illegal drug trade. Billions of dollars worth of narcotics were seized. Hello, CIA. Showing what can be done in a short time frame if the problem is tackled seriously. Now, the president is going after tax-dodging oligarchs now and multi-nation corporations who haven't paid a cent for decades. And the elites and their media empires held former regimes to ransom. Some of them have now started paying up. So he's a man of his word. And maybe Mr. Trump could do with some of his moves. So how does Duterte get away with taking on the rich and the powerful? Simple. He boasts a massive 83% popular approval rating across the country, and the oligarchs cannot use the mainstream media to destroy him because the people don't trust what the media say anymore. Oh my. Israeli forces this week opted to cut off water supply lines feeding into more than a dozen communities in the West Bank city of Hebron. In total, the changes will affect 17 Mafasea Yatta communities, where an estimated 1,500 Palestinians reside. And the move on Wednesday has largely been criticised by locals as yet another Israeli measure to force Palestinians away from their homes in order to expand settlements. Now, a 2009 Amnesty International report on Palestinian access to water supplies notes that Palestinian consumption in the occupied Palestinian territories is about 70 litres per day per person, well below the 100 litres daily recommended use by the World Health Organization, which is a misnomer in and of itself. Whereas the Israeli daily per capita consumption is about 300 litres per person, about 4 times as much. And the stark reality of this unequal system is that today, more than 40 years after Israel occupied the West Bank, some 180 to 200,000 Palestinians living in rural communities there have no access to running water. And even in towns and villages which are connected to the water network, the taps often run dry, according to the report. Now, more recently, a 2018 United Nations report found that at least 1.9 million Palestinians experience or are at risk of conflict and violence, displacement and denial of access to livelihoods, amongst other threats. And the most vulnerable Palestinians are currently denied or restricted in their access to essential services such as water and also healthcare. Now, news of the water lines being closed off came on the same day that Israeli forces destroyed a recently reconstructed road that connected Kiryat ad-Daib to Masafer Yatta, which is in the south of Hebron. And that road provided Palestinian farmers the ability to access farmlands and also residential areas. More later. US President Donald Trump this week issued an angry response after a TV interview on Sunday alleged that officials had held discussions to have him removed. Trump tweeted of illegal and treasonous behaviour and also an illegal coup attempt. And in the interview, ex-FBI Chief Andrew McCabe said talks had been held in 2017 about invoking a clause that can remove the president as being deemed unfit. Now, the Senate Judiciary Committee chairman has vowed to investigate the claims, and Lindsey Graham said the claims were an attempted bureaucratic coup. In a series of tweets on Monday morning, he condemned so many lies by now disgraced FBI director, actor as well, Andrew McCabe. He was fired for lying, and now his story gets even more deranged. He and Rosenstein, who was hired by the then Attorney General Jeff Sessions, another one who we warned would go bye-bye, looked like they were planning a very illegal act and got caught. Mr. Trump added there's a lot of explaining to do to the millions of people who had just elected a president who they really like and has done a great job for them with the military, vets, economy and much more. This was the illegal and treasonous insurance policy in full action, he said. A court in the Maldives has ordered the country's former president to be arrested on money laundering charges. It's racking up these former presidents and current presidents and prime ministers who have been done on money laundering, and it's likely much more. Now, reports that Yamin Abdul Gayoom was ordered detained by a court after prosecutors argued that he could potentially tamper with witnesses in the case if he was released. Investigators reportedly found $1 million in his bank account related to a deal to lease public islands to real estate developers. 2 current cabinet ministers were also suspended by the Maldives' current president, Ibrahim Mohamed Solih, after related payments were discovered in their accounts also. Now, the state prosecutor argued that Yamin had contacted 2 witnesses in the case and offered them money in exchange for their silence. Now, Mr. Yamin has reportedly countered that, saying he does not know the witnesses set to testify against him and that he did not know about the $1 million transferred to his bank account. Really. Former President Mohammed Nasheed, whose conviction under Yameen's rule was overturned last year, told the Associated Press that the country will attempt to reduce its $3 billion debt with China, arguing that some of the money went to Yameen's illegal schemes. It's all linked. Now, following an earlier piece I did on this show about pricing people out of America, out of homes, and also rent, also in Canada and also in the UK. Here's a further example. This is a global issue. A person by the name of Geraldine Hines, which I'm almost sure is a friend of mine's sister, it all fits, back in the UK, is panicking about the future. The 63-year-old has been trying to buy an apartment ever since she was evicted from the home she rented for 32 years, when it was bought by Chinese investors 2 years ago. I want some security in case the same things happens again, says Miss Hines, who's originally from Ireland. Now, she earns a modest salary as an English teacher in Greece, while her Greek husband's monthly pension was cut from €1,500, which is about $1,700, down to €500 during the country's economic crisis. Now, you manage your social security payments being cut 2/3. Not good. Of course, this all happened in Greece back in 2010. When we were evicted, there were still apartments selling nearby for €100,000, and now I can't find anything under €250,000, which is roughly $300,000 ballpark anyway. And she's going on that they're being priced out. These are Chinese and Russian oligarch prices, not the average Greek people. Now, of course, Greece's financial crisis started a decade ago and shrank the country's economy by more than 25% in the following years. But we're pleased to hear that there are finally some signs of improvement over there, perhaps not in the house prices. And the property market that was once completely dead is back on the rise again, except house prices are increasing too much. All designed for certain buyers, that's why, so they control the whole market. And the boom appears to be driven by a controversial golden visa scheme in which non-EU citizens receive residency and free movement in the EU Schengen zone, as it's called, in exchange for investing in property. See how it works now? And the worry is that foreign investors are benefiting while ordinary Greeks miss out. A bit like what happened on the whole of the east coast of America and Canada, is it not? And this type of program is the same as the program ran in America, known as the EB-5 visa. Next few pieces before we fit in a couple of Q&A will be of no surprise, because we've warned about these type of actions previously. The editor and publisher of a local paper in Alabama, which is key, is under fire for penning an editorial calling for mass lynchings by the Ku Klux Klan, and the opinion piece ran in his print-only newspaper, the Democratic Reporter. Go figure. Goodloe Sutton confirmed on Tuesday he said Democrats were going to raise taxes and that the KKK should hang them and raid Washington, D.C. Alabama lawmakers have called for Sutton to resign. Now, the KKK is one of the oldest so-called white supremacy groups in America. that was formed just after the Civil War, which I documented in a recent piece. And that group was behind many of the lynchings, rapes and violent attacks on what is assumed African Americans, but may actually be indigenous Americans in the 1900s and the 1800s. Now, the editorial began garnering attention online after students from Auburn University in Alabama tweeted photographs of the article. Mr. Sutton could not be immediately reached for comment on the matter, which is indicative. Essentially, he just lit the fuse. Now, Mr. Sutton was once a celebrated journalist, commended for his ethics by other news outlets, including the New York Times and also the American Journalism Review. And a short editorial piece published without a byline on February the 14th was entitled "Klan Needs to Ride Again. Time for the Ku Klux Klan to night ride again." Now, a lot of people won't get that reference. The Night Riders were set up the week after the Ku Klux Klan. It's just an offshoot of the same group. Now, I did that piece back in December the 20th and pointed out the links. But why would a celebrated journalist come up with this piece at this time? Why in Alabama? It makes no sense. But the gist of it is this show, or my December the 20th show, on Dane Calloway and also some QAnons have been piecing together the links between the KKK and the Democrats is why. That's why they've done this piece. So let's write a controversial piece written that separates the two groups, and that's the whole gist of what this guy's wrote. A deliberate distraction piece that they've used so often. But that article also rewrites history, as the KKK was formed in the 1860s and was against Jews, originally not blacks. It was also against the Republicans, as my piece on December the 20th show pointed out. Why? Because the KKK were the democratic, militaristic and defence arm of that party. Essentially, this piece is a deliberate think tank group piece designed to distance two connected dots and separate them to a gullible and naive public. Again, now you should all start to see how they work. Twist and spin everything to diffuse and confuse. And hopefully many of you now are beginning to see the patterns and learn to connect the dots yourselves. But essentially this piece is a compliment to those who exposed the links of the KKK and the Democrats. And all they've done is try to create the distance between the two when there is none. Another common theme that happens all too often. The summit of Central European leaders in Israel has been cancelled because of an Israel-Poland row over the Holocaust. Poland withdrew after being angered by comments from Israeli leaders about Polish complicity in the Holocaust. Really? In particular, Israel's acting foreign minister Yisrael Katz used the phrase "Poles imbibe anti-Semitism with their mother's milk." Nazi Germany murdered 6 million Jews, mostly in Poland, and some Poles did collaborate with the Nazis, he said. And he went on, remarks were racist and unacceptable to the Polish people. And the Polish Prime Minister, Mr. Morawiecki, said there were also Polish fury at the Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for saying Poles cooperated with the Germans during the Holocaust. He also stated that 6 million Polish citizens died, 6 million Polish citizens died in World War II. That figure again. And he stated there were about 3 million who were Jews. And yet, on the signs in the concentration camps, it says 130,000 now. Oops. One loss is enough. Now, the meeting, which was hosted by Israel, was meant to bring together the four-nation Visegrad group: Poland, the Czech Republic, Hungary and Slovakia, the Aryan group. But on Monday, Israel said the three prime ministers attending without Poland would have bilateral meetings with Mr. Netanyahu. But like I said, this is a common theme. It's gone on for the last 30 or 40 years. Every single time there is a meeting to thrash stuff out, someone says something controversial that disrupts or cancels the meeting. Or they deliberately fire rockets at their own people, disrupts other meetings between Palestine and Israel. How many more times does this have to happen before world leaders begin to see through this illusion? The leaders who are operating, and they are operating, I'll make that distinction, they are operating under the banner of Israel, have no interest in peace, or to be fair, or interested in humanity, only their insane program and humanity-destroying religious dogma, more of which will be revealed later in the op-ed pieces.